We asked 50 gamers, is there a game that is considered to be really bad but is your secret guilty pleasure? Yes, Days Gone. Now, I think over time, Days Gone has become less hated in the community and more people have found it, but when it first released, people didn't like this game. And even now, today, people still don't like this game. It's not a perfect game. I see the holes, I see the flaws, I see the bugs, but for whatever reason, I really, really like it.
There was a time when I considered myself too hardcore to appreciate mobile or browser games, but in 2012, I got into SimCity Social, a browser game that was played within Facebook, and I really got into it. Sometimes when I had days off from work, that was all I did, clicking away at my city. I don't know if it was considered bad per se, but EA thought so, as less than a year later, they decided the game wasn't worth supporting, so they shut the game down, and since there was no offline mode, it was just gone forever. It was simultaneously super disappointing and super relieving to have to quit by default.
Of games that are considered to be really bad, it was Cyberpunk 2077 at launch, but these days I would say that something like Farming Sim or American Truck Sim would be considered bad by the general gaming population that haven't played it because it seems boring and dull, and why would you do something like that? Where is the gameplay? But I enjoy the chill nature of those games, the nice slow pace, and you really don't have to think so much, and sometimes it's nice just to sit back and relax with a simulator.
A game that is considered to be bad but is a guilty pleasure of mine has to be Need for Speed The Run. It's an action-packed game with tons of cinematic scenes and visuals. Sean Faris and Christina Hendricks of Hollywood fame are in it. The racing is fast-paced. It's a very short, easy playthrough, and for some reason, it's just a really enjoyable game for me.
My guilty pleasure would be DayZ. It definitely did not meet up to the expectations that were set during its development for its standalone release. I get quite a bit of enjoyment out of the game. You know, I like walking around. You know, sometimes I'll throw on some Minecraft music, just follow the trails that are hidden around the map, and you know, occasionally I'll run into town to find some poor, unassuming soul. Maybe I beat them over the back of the head with a shovel and force feed them some gasoline. But hey, that's just my little guilty pleasure.
This game in particular, it's not really recognized for being like a bad game, but I guess kind of stigma around it, around playing it, because like the main population of players maybe. But my secret pleasure is definitely Fortnite.
It would have to be Escape from Tarkov. That game is known to be bad, not in the sense of game design, but in terms of playing it, it's really bad to play it, because it's extremely difficult and not a lot of people like it, or not a lot of people can enjoy it, but it's a secret pleasure for me. I enjoy it.
Probably Watch Dogs 1. It got hopped on a lot because of the hype over E3 and stuff like that, and it wasn't lived up to what it was, but with mods and stuff, it's so much fun to me.
Cyberpunk 2077. This game was a huge disaster on its release. It was full of bugs, and even with some few fundamental gameplay problems.
Probably Back 4 Blood would be a really disappointing one for me. I was really expecting that to be kind of a spiritual reimagining of the Left 4 Dead series. I'm a big fan of those games, and it really felt like they were advertising them as like, hey, this is like the next best Left 4 Dead game that we're making, because we used to make the Left 4 Dead games and everything. And then it came out and it just really didn't hit the same. I felt like the characters were just nowhere near as good as the Left 4 Dead characters, and the environments were really boring, and the story in general just didn't really hit the same. They completely botched the multiplayer. It felt like they just didn't seem to know what they were doing as well with that. There was just a lot of bugs and problems on release with the game in general. Yeah, I felt Back 4 Blood was just not it for me, and I feel like that was just a fairly disappointing experience in general.
Personally, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I really enjoyed BioShock Infinite. I know it was a departure from the main game, being underwater and Rapture and everything, now up in the clouds with the whole timeline twist, but I really liked it. I thought it was a nice way to end the series.
I'd have to say it was probably Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and that's for a multitude of different reasons, like them not hiring the original voice actors to voice some of the OG characters. For some reason, got back the original voice actor for Weaver for zombies. It didn't hit like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 did.
Resident Evil 6. I know Resident Evil 6 got a lot of flack for its, I guess you could say, divisive plot, storyline, claims to be going back to survival horror, etc. And it does deserve a lot of it. But to me, Resident Evil 6 is just so much fun, and honestly, I feel like it has some of the best gameplay in the series for that type of genre that it was playing in. One of the complaints was that people felt that the controls were clunky, but to me, once you got used to the controls, everything was so smooth, and just the implementation of those controls in Mercenaries mode was incredible, and you could just lose yourself in just Mercenaries mode alone, and that's why I think Resident Evil 6 got a lot more hate than it deserved.
For Honor, there's not a lot of games like For Honor. I'm not really a huge fighting gamer, so this is like a pseudo fighting game, action game, where you basically play either as a knight, a samurai, a Viking, or a Chinese faction. It's 3D, you use weapons, and instead of it being on a 2D landscape like fighting games, it's literally you facing your opponent. And of course, it becomes like an intense sword fight. It's a lot of intense waiting and reacting to your opponent when they move and swing a sword at you. I know For Honor did not release very well, like the servers were broken. It was so hard to join literally almost any game. And when you're in a game, you get kicked out, but I think they improved it finally. I still play it. You know, they used to have just P2P servers, now it's the dedicated server, but I still play it, and I gotta say, I have also paid a lot of the DLC that was in the game as well, so yeah, there's that.
Call of Duty Warzone, Modern Warfare Warzone, whatever it is, because the game's just way too sweaty. The hacking and the modding, the cheating, whatever, you know, getting killed from across the map from a cheater, you know, it's not fun. I think it's terrible. I think they could have done a better job with like anti-cheat and stuff like that.
There's this controversial game called Assassin's Creed Unity. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it was a disaster at launch. It had a lot of glitches, a lot of bugs. Being a teenager at the time, it was I think 2014 when it came out. It was a technical masterpiece. I really loved it. Even though I had a potato PC that could run it at the lowest settings at 15 FPS, I completed it. I had a blast with it.
Homefront: The Revolution. That was kind of terrible reviews and a very, very buggy, messy game when it came out, but I just love the premise of the United States being invaded as just such a powerful country, and I don't know, I've always thought those Red Dawn scenarios are really cool.
I've recently been playing Hood, Outlaws and Legends, and that game is, I just want to beat it so bad, like just get some extractions out of it or something, but the problem is that it just doesn't play really that well, and I remember one of the Steam reviews on there saying, I feel like I've actually been robbed. I got the whole Robin Hood experience, but I don't know why. I just feel like I have to beat it, and it's I want there to be a good Robin Hood game, and this is the closest we got to it.
That would have to be Fallout 76. I've heard that it is a complete disappointment of the Fallout franchise, but it's what got me into the Fallout franchise and got me into Fallout 4.
Back in the day, it was Shaq Fu. If you know, you know.
That's a tough one for me, as I don't really have a game that I think is really bad. There are games that are kind of weird in quality, but I'd say a bad game that a lot of people would say is bad is Destiny. That is like my go-to game, but I love Destiny to its core, and it is just like my #1 all-time favorite shooter.
Is there a game that is considered to be really bad but is your secret guilty pleasure? I wouldn't consider this to be really bad, but Devil May Cry 4 has one of the stupidest cheesy romances ever, and I adore it for that.
That would be Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2. Was for many LOK fans considered one of the worst games in the series, but I liked it, I love to play it, and yeah, it's my guilty pleasure.
One game that I actually quite enjoy and I find myself coming back to a lot is Until Dawn. A lot of people give that game a lot of grief, but it's a sense of nostalgia for me. It was one of the first games I ever owned. Even though there's a lot of elements in the game that could use a lot of work, I actually quite enjoy it and I tend to come back to it a lot.
The game is called 300 March to Glory, a game from PSP.
I really like Borderlands 3, like a lot. I enjoyed it. I like the graphics. I love Borderlands, all the Borderlands that came after 1. So 3 is not an exception. I actually really like it. It's replayable for me at least. I mean, I understand that people don't like it, the story and things, but I love it. It's my guilty pleasure.
Elder Scrolls Oblivion. If you have
ever played that game, everything was so broken. The AI, the voice acting, the mechanic was bad, like really, really, really bad. But it ended up becoming one of the best names of all time. Like, it was so bad that it was so funny. Just like a very, very bad game, but I enjoy playing it like a lot.
Dead Island. I sort of took notice of Dead Island at all when I saw the graphic cover for Riptides, or what looked like a serial killer. It's actually the hero, John Morgan. They are good fun games, despite the bugs.
Probably Fortnite. I played it the entire time since I got it in 2017.
Order 1886. I can't say it's a guilty pleasure, but it's definitely a game that I actually liked playing, but every single person I've ever seen try it hated it.
Hello, Gamologists. My name is the real Jim. No. Hello, Gamologists. I'm GMAT. You can find me at... No. How would I go? I gotta do it quick.
What is going on, everybody? It is the Misfit Bear,